Ever notice how the loudest person in the room is rarely the smartest? While everyone's fighting for attention, there's always that one person sitting back, observing, barely saying a word. And you probably think they're just shy or boring, right? Wrong. Science shows that people who talk less actually have some of the most complex psychological patterns. Today, I'm breaking down the 5 types of quiet people you meet every day. And warning, you might see yourself in one of these. Let's get into it. First type, the strategic observer. This person isn't quiet because they're scared or awkward. They're quiet because they're playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers. While you're busy talking, they're watching, reading body language, catching the lies people tell, noticing who interrupts who avoids eye contact, who's faking their laugh. Psychologically, these people have what's called high situational awareness. Their brains are wired to gather data first, speak second. They understand that in any conversation, the person talking reveals everything while the person listening controls everything. You'll notice them in meetings, at parties, during arguments. They rarely jump in, but when they finally speak, it's surgical. They've already mapped out the entire social landscape, and their words hit exactly where they need to. Don't mistake their silence for weakness. They're the ones who see what you're trying to hide. Second type, the energy conservationist. For this person, talking isn't just communication, it's literal energy expenditure, and they treat their social battery like it's running on 10% at all times. This is classic introversion at its finest. Neurologically, their brains are more sensitive to dopamine, which means they get overstimulated faster than extroverts. Every conversation, every social interaction drains them like a phone app running in the background, so they've learned to be selective. Small talk, hard pass. Gossip, not worth the energy. Random opinions about things that don't matter. They'd rather save their battery for conversations that actually fuel them. When you see them go quiet in group settings, it's not because they don't like you. It's because their brain is literally telling them, we need to recharge now. They're not antisocial. They're just energy efficient. Third type, the wounded communicator. Here's where it gets deeper. Some people don't talk much because somewhere along the way, speaking up became dangerous. Maybe they grew up in a household where their opinions were shot down. Maybe they were bullied for saying the wrong thing. Maybe they opened up to someone who weaponized their words against them. Whatever the cause, their brain learned a harsh lesson. Silence is safer than speech. Psychologically, this is a trauma response. Their nervous system associates talking with threat, so they've built walls around their voice. It's not that they have nothing to say, they have plenty. But years of conditioning have taught them that keeping it inside hurts less than letting it out. You'll recognize them by the hesitation before they speak, the way they test the waters before sharing anything real. They want to connect, but the risk feels too high. If you know someone like this, be patient. Their silence isn't stubbornness, it's survival. Fourth type, the selective perfectionist. This person operates on one principle. If I'm going to say something, it better be worth saying. They're not quiet because they're insecure. They're quiet because they hold themselves to impossible standards. Before they speak, they're mentally editing, revising, fact-checking, predicting how it'll land, imagining every possible response. Psychologically, this ties to high conscientiousness and anxiety about judgment. They'd rather say nothing than say something that sounds stupid, inaccurate, or half-baked. Every word has to be precise, thoughtful, valuable. The problem? By the time they've perfected what they want to say, the conversation has moved on. So they stay quiet, frustrated with themselves for missing the moment. But when they do speak, it's usually gold. Their words are polished, insightful, and well thought out. They've just paid the price of overthinking to get there. If this is you, here's permission. You don't have to be perfect to be heard. Fifth and final type, the self-sufficient philosopher. This is the person who genuinely enjoys their own company more than anyone else's. Not in an arrogant way, in a deeply content, self-aware way. They've cultivated such a rich inner world that external conversation often feels optional. They think deeply, question everything, and have entire philosophical debates with themselves. They don't need you to validate their thoughts, because they've already explored every angle on their own. Psychologically, these people have high levels of what's called intrinsic motivation. Their fulfillment comes from internal reflection. not social feedback. They're not lonely, they're genuinely comfortable in solitude. You might think they're distant or uninterested, but really, they're just living on a different wavelength. They're not avoiding connection, they're selective about when and how they engage. And honestly, in a world obsessed with constant noise and validation, their ability to sit in silence and just think is almost revolutionary. So there you have it. 5 types of people who don't talk too much. The strategic observer who sees everything, the energy conservationist who protects their peace, the wounded communicator who's learned silence as safety, the selective perfectionist who overthinks every word, the self-sufficient philosopher who lives comfortably within. Here's the truth. Quiet people aren't broken, boring, or less intelligent. They're just wired differently. And in a world that won't stop talking, maybe their silence is exactly what we need to pay attention to. So here's my question. Which type are you? Or better yet, which type is someone in your life? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. If this gave you a new perspective, smash that subscribe button. We dive into human psychology like this all the time. And hit the like button so more people can discover these insights. Now go appreciate the quiet people in your life a little differently.